Improving, but still troubled.
As a longtime Portlander, city commissioner and mayoral candidate Mingus Mapps can't say he's proud of what Portland has become.
If we don't get better fast, the city could fail. This is an inflection point for Portland.
On your campaign website, it says, "I have a vision to make Portland the best run city in the United States." What is that vision?
Oh, great. Well, this is a unique opportunity and moment in the history of Portland. One of the things that will happen on January 1st, 2025 is that we'll have a new form of government. One of the things that we have to do is, all 24 bureaus within the city have to be synced up and working and pulling in the same direction. And that historically has not been the way Portland operates. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why downtown Portland in particular looks the way it does.
So under your leadership, if elected, will people still be sleeping on the sidewalks?
We're going to see, every year we're going to see fewer and fewer people sleeping on the sidewalks. This problem has exploded over the last several years. The metric I'm committed to holding myself accountable to is seeing the absolute number of people who are sleeping on our sidewalks decrease over time. I'd like to see it shrink by at least half in our first 4 years. And I know a lot of people will be skeptical of that. I will tell you that's actually achievable.
So you talk about continuing to remove camps.
Yep.
But what about a place for them to go?
Absolutely. Well, this is an important thing. We've got 6,000 people sleeping on the streets, probably in about 1,000 camps. Right now, the city is probably moving about 500 camps a month. And every time we go out to a camp or to an RV, we let folks know, listen, you need to move here. We try to connect them with services.
Even though services are limited, he points to the city-led tiny home villages as part of the solution. He wants to make that program a county responsibility.
One of the conversations that the next mayor needs to have is to make sure that the county takes over this work so that, I and future commissioners on council can focus in on parks and roads and delivering safe water and keeping our rivers clean.
And is it really just financial reasons that you'd want the county to take all of that over?
Well, number one, this is really appropriately their work. The city does the things that are on the names of our bureaus: parks, water, cops, fire. Human services really isn't part of our portfolio. In the last couple of years, we've gotten into that work, frankly, because the county has struggled so much. That's bad government. And frankly, we're not really well equipped for this. And we don't have the funding for it. One of the reasons why we are in this economic challenge is that we are investing tens of millions of dollars in houseless services that, frankly, the county should be providing. And I'd be happy to do that if there was need out there, which there is, or if the county were broke. But the county's not broke. The county is sitting on hundreds of millions of unspent dollars that should be serving this population. They need to get those dollars out the door. And
we've heard this rhetoric before. Do you really think you can get through to the current leadership at the county?
Well, I actually am optimistic. Right now, one of the things to remember is that elections matter, and I believe pretty much everybody over on the county board is up for election in May. So I encourage every Portlander and every Multnomah County voter to pay a lot of attention to the folks who are going to be on that ballot. Who you choose is really going to make a huge difference in what the future of the county and the city looks like. The other thing is to be fair, the current county chair has only been in that position for about a year or so. I think we all approach public work with a lot of idealism and whatnot, and then your idealism meets reality, and you need to adjust. I see the county adjusting here. I do think there are some core differences in our worldviews that explain why the county chair behaves differently and makes different choices than I would make. At the same time, I do see an overlap in our core goals.
Just lastly here, what do you have to say about people who have just completely lost faith in our local government?
I hear you, and I'll tell you, elections matter. We have to make some choices about what our future is going to look like. If we stick with the status quo and allow folks to, frankly, die in our streets by the hundreds every year, Portland will be a ghost town. You know, Detroit will be our future. That does not need to be our future. Frankly, I believe that Portland is one of the best cities in North America. We've came through some challenges, but we can be in the lead again, and I'm deeply committed to making sure that we get there.
Blair joins me now. Super interesting. I'm looking forward to this. You're going to interview all the major candidates, right?
That's right. We have invites out, and we're talking with Commissioner Carmen Rubio later on this month, and we are still waiting to hear back from Rene Gonzalez.
And I know the campaigns are underway, and Mapps has an interesting path. He's almost out of money, but still, you can't just put it all on the county.
But he does have somewhat of a point, because the city's hands are limited in many ways when it comes to what they can realistically do when it comes to larger homeless policies. I mean, for example, those Safe for Us villages and tiny home villages, the majority of the funding for those comes from the county.
Yeah, and I know that years ago they did split it up. The county took human services, the city business development, and that sort of thing. But still, as a leader, I think you got to do something. And we see that in the current administration, the city leaders, that Mapps is one of those, putting money forward. And so they've got to do something with that. And for example, the camping ban that's going on right now, what's the latest on that? Yeah,
there was just a recent update. But first, for some background here, the daytime ban on camping would make it so homeless people could not stay on most public property from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. Now, those who violate that rule would face fines or jail time. But back in November, just days before the enforcement piece was set to start, a judge blocked that from happening, ruling against the city, arguing the constitutionality of the ban. Now, the city asked the Oregon Supreme Court to step in and require the judge to provide a more detailed explanation as to why, and they just learned that the Supreme Court denied the city's request. So the city tells us they're exploring all their options on how to move forward here. The mayor's office sent us this statement today saying the city learned about the order yesterday and is disappointed in the lack of judicial guidance from the court, and they are exploring numerous potential pathways forward and will follow up as plans further develop. So we'll see, Pat.
Very interesting. We're still waiting for this big Supreme Court ruling. They're going to hear the argument out of Grants Pass, and that may change the whole landscape.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts.
All right. Thanks, Blair. Great stuff as always.